11 a.m. advisory is in. Forecast cone has shifted, South Floridians. Come to your television screen. We haven't been able to move the actual timing of the markers quite yet, but I do want you to know Sunday is expected to be a Category 4 hurricane, still nearing the northwestern half of the Bahamas. Monday, the system's still a Category 4 hurricane just offshore over the central portions of our state, but you do need to pay attention that much of Broward County has been lifted out of the forecast cone of uncertainty. All of Miami-Dade is no longer under this forecast cone of concern, as well as the Keys. This is very important for you to understand. I'm just giving you a brief moment to look at this. We're going to make a better forecast for you. This model will actually become more depicted. I'll actually show you exactly where this forecast cone does end in moments, but I got to get to the advisory. Winds of 150 miles per hour. The system strengthened even further. Still a Category 4 hurricane. Pressure 945 millibars. It's moving west. It is slowing down. That is not good news, because the models are hinting that this could just hover over the northwestern half of the Bahamas as we go into the next few days. It is located 415 miles east of West Palm Beach, Florida. Want to go back to that forecast cone one more time before I let you go. We are noticing that Broward County much of Broward County has been moved away, I should say, from the forecast cone of concern for now. And we are noticing, of course, all of Miami-Dade is no longer under this forecast cone of concern. So with this said, we are expecting the shift in this to continue. Remember, we talked about these models that the National Hurricane Center continued to watch, and they use that model runs to help them find where the forecast cone will go and where the forecast of the system will go as well. I'll be right back with more details and with meteorologist Brandon Orr.
Julie, we don't even want to take a commercial break. We want to keep talking to you because this is the most important thing right now, this 11 a.m. advisory. So our producers said, let's just keep talking about this. Isn't that what you guys just said? Are we turning the music down? Okay, let's stay with Julie. Let's go right back to Julie. This is the most important thing in South Florida right now. The 11 a.m. advisory. Our Weather Authority meteorologist, can we go ahead and take her? Thank you.
Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Brandon is continuing to work on some more of the graphics to delve deeper, because you guys have been so detailed on what each of these advisories mean. But again, specify for those just joining us here as we begin the 11 a.m. newscast exactly what this means.
So let's look at this forecast cone of uncertainty. We saw it starting this morning where parts of Miami-Dade were able to push away from the forecast cone. Now it looks as though Broward County is no longer in this forecast cone of concern. Again, we need to actually move in and fix the graphic, but it looks as though they are expecting the system to be so far offshore, which is no surprise because we've been telling you that that has been the last few model runs, but it looks as though it's been consistent enough that we've been able to allow for the actual markers of the system to show. It still is a Category 4, but again, lifting to the north just in enough time to allow for much of Broward County to no longer be under the forecast cone of uncertainty. And all of Miami-Dade is no longer under this forecast cone, as well as the Keys. The advisory, once again, though, very scary, you guys. This system just continues to strengthen and slow down. Winds of 150 miles per hour, pressure 945 millibars. It is crawling now to the west at 8 miles per hour, located 415 miles just east of West Palm Beach, Florida. It will be making a beeline for the northwestern half of the Bahamas. We'll see if those watches and warnings have been changed. But again, this is the 11 a.m. forecast cone of concern. Much of Broward County completely out of the forecast cone, especially what we do know is Miami-Dade's out and the Keys. Again, I haven't been able to read the advisory, but I believe Brandon has, so I'm going to toss it over to Brandon with more details.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of important things to note, Julie, of this latest advisory. If you notice, the winds have bumped up, like you mentioned, to 150 miles per hour. That's still a Category 4 storm, but also in the forecast, they expect it to get up to 155 miles per hour over the course of today. That would be right on the edge of Cat 5 strength. So this is still a very powerful and strengthening hurricane that we have here. This is the center of the storm. You see it looks pretty dramatic on radar. There are some signs of some light wind shear coming in on the west side. So that's why this side of the storm is a little bit smaller than the other side. It's not completely symmetrical, but that eye certainly is. In terms of this track staying a little bit farther offshore than what we've been expecting recently, it means the strongest winds, the damaging wind gusts, would remain away from South Florida and offshore, and maybe even skirting the coastline here north of us. But we would still have to watch out for, you see some of these rain bands? Some of these could easily mix down some tropical storm force wind gusts. We'll have to watch out for that, especially as we get towards, let's say, Labor Day on Monday going into Tuesday. As far as the rain is concerned, we will get some rain bands likely as we get through Labor Day. Lots of dry period in between now that the storm is starting to shift offshore. And those flooding concerns are over towards the northern Bahamas. Check this out, 15 to 24 inches of rain, 2 feet of rain across the northern Bahamas. It's quite a bit. So it looks like the flooding rains are shifting offshore as well. Here's a lot of our computer models. They're in a pretty good agreement now. We'll still have to watch the trends today. You shouldn't leave this storm completely and write it off. But we're feeling more confident now that we're a scenario that it's moving offshore will likely play out. This is the graphic that we showed you yesterday, the high off to the north, and we're expecting it to move off to the north. The big question was, when did it do so? Would it move into Florida like the likely scenario was yesterday, then move off to the north, or would it stay just offshore? And we know the offshore scenario now is the most likely case. So the track has shifted, but uncertainty remains. Gusty rain bands are still possible, and some of those rain bands may still have tropical storm force gusts. So I would not be surprised if they issue tropical storm watches along the east coast of Florida. Not sure how far south they'll issue those, maybe even into Broward County. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you hear that later on today, that wouldn't be a big surprise. We'll keep you updated, but it's mainly just for winds like this. You could see some strong wind gusts, mainly north of West Palm, but getting into Monday, you'll certainly notice very windy day here in South Florida. We'll continue to keep you updated on any changes we see in our next round of computer models. Eric and JC, we should be getting those in over the next few hours.
Well, Brandon, thank you.